tell me how to best protect Wakanda. I want to be a great king, Baba. Just like you. You're going to struggle.
So you'll need to surround yourself with people you trust.
You're a good man, with a good heart. And it's hard for a good man to be king.
Hello and welcome once again to the Cine-Files, where each week we enter the world of a great film, we explore its themes, the history, the filmmaking, and the influence it has on us today. My name is Steve Morris. I'm a filmmaker and directing instructor in Los Angeles, California.
Hey everyone, my name is John Roca. I'm a writer, producer, and host on the Outlaw Nation, and a voiceover artist as well. Excited to get into this one today.
And as all of you know who listen to the show, we have rules at the Cine-Files, and one of our most important rules is that we will not explore a movie until we are absolutely certain that it has stood the test of time, and that means that it has to be 10 years old. And yet, today we are breaking that. We are breaking our most important rule, and I'm not happy about let me say that again.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about the reason that we're doing it. But I think it's absolutely the right decision, and the film we are going to explore is Black Panther, in honor of the great Chadwick Boseman, who we lost so tragically just a few weeks ago.
Well, you know, Steve, we've been doing the show for 4 years now, crossing 200 episodes, and we've never broken our rule for anything, and it took the monumental loss of Chadwick Boseman for us to break our rule in this special case, and we couldn't ask for a better film to break the rule with than Black Panther, which was nominated for Best Picture and certainly elevated the genre of superhero films and finally served an underserved section of the nerd community with an incredible film and an incredible performance from Chadwick Boseman.
Well, and I think we couldn't be having two better guests to discuss this film with.
Absolutely. Very excited to welcome these two gentlemen to our show. Very happy they both said yes. We'll start first with the Mad Titan himself, Mr. Jay Washington. You know him as a pundit, critic. You know him as a reviewer. You know him from Game Time, talking all his mess. But also you know him as someone who is very adamantly and proudly a part of the nerd world. He hosts a show with the other gentleman we got here called Blurs in the Hood. And they're talking so much about all the stuff that goes on in the world of nerddom from the black point of view and from the human point of view. So welcome, please, to the show, Jay Washington, and also his partner on Blurs in the Hood, also reviewer, pundit, all-around crap talker in the Schmodown, but one of the best managers working today, and a man who's really blown up as an actor and as a performer himself. That is Winston Marshall. So, gentlemen, welcome both of you to the Cine-Files.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here. First of all, I've never seen John Roca talk so seriously in my entire
Dude,
life.
I had to be like, am I on the right show? Like, is this the right podcast?
I had for Roca to come in and be like, thank you so much for coming to Cine-Files. We're so happy to see you here, and we're so glad that everybody.
Listen, we normally have a rule that we don't break, and we make sure there's 10 years, and we know that if we're gonna break the rule, this is the perfect film.
My mind was just blown. One minor addendum, and this is mainly just because my manager has been on top of me and making sure everybody else does for branding purposes. Winston Marshall. Because there is a Canadian actor named Winston Marshall, and I don't want none of this dude to get none of my street cred.
That guy doesn't hold a candle to you. Winston, it's just
thanks.
Absolutely,
I appreciate it.
Do not respect the Winston without an A.
I appreciate it.
Winston's up there again. I keep getting submitted for these roles.
I'm not in LA, eh?
I don't know. I think there's a Canadian mounted police role in your future that you're really gonna do well with.
I think the best part is the Winston Marshall is probably some 22-year-old skinny white kid, and he's all of a sudden.
No. It's this. He's he's almost 40. He's jacked. But this dude is
yeah. Well, I can understand why you want to differentiate between the two of them.
Fair enough. Maybe we cut that part out of this. Anyway,
no, we leave that in.
I will definitely either cut it out or leave it in. One of those is going to happen.
Definitely.
One other thing we're doing that's completely different is that we just felt that just talking about one of his films wasn't enough, and that with the real heroism that he showed, particularly near the end of his life and working with kids with cancer while concealing the fact that he was had stage 4 colon cancer is so remarkable. And we felt that to honor him, we wanted to have our own, raise some funds for kids with cancer. And we partnered with the National Children's Cancer Society to do our fundraiser on our own. And this is an incredible organization. What they do is that they raise money not for the medical treatment, but for all the costs that go around this. Because if you imagine your kid gets diagnosed with cancer, man, that's not just a disease for the kid. The whole family has things to deal with. For instance, if someone had to travel to New York for some kind of cancer treatment and they had to be there once a month, well, sure, insurance is going to pay for the treatment, but they're not going to pay for the travel expenses, for the hotel expenses. They're not going to see what happens with that family in the time after the cancer to give emotional and psychological support. The NCCS does they do scholarships for these kids so that they really think about the whole life going forward and the life of the family going forward. They're a great organization, and we're honored to be working with them. And we also have a donor who's giving a matching grant. So if we manage to raise $3,000, well, then another $3,000 is going to come in automatically, and that will go all the way up to 10 grand. So we have the opportunity through the Cine-Files to raise $20,000 for families that are really in need. And all you got to do is go to thenccs.org/donate-Black Panther. That's thenccs.org/donate-Black Panther. I'll have the link in the show notes so you can click on it there. Please try to go through that link, because that's how we're going to see if we make it to that $3,000 to get that matching grant. It's a great cause, and we're really proud to be working with them for the Cine-Files and in honor of Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the one thing we're doing differently. And I got to say, just right off the bat, having spent a lot of time digging into this film and digging into the life of Chadwick Boseman, I'm so happy we're doing this. There's so much to talk about. Been so powerful for me over the last couple of weeks really working on this. And I'm very, very excited for this conversation.
Yeah.
Let's start with Chadwick Boseman. And I want to give a little bit of brief biography. He was born in 1976 in South Carolina. He started writing plays in high school. And this is the thing I didn't know about him, is his whole pathway, he was going to be a writer-director. He didn't the only reason he started being an actor is because he wanted to learn more about how to work with actors as a director. I just find that really, really interesting. He wrote and directed plays all through college. He went to Howard University, the same university that Thurgood Marshall, who he would let her play, went to. One more thing is that one of his mentors is Phylicia Rashad. And Phylicia Rashad was so impressed with him that she raised money, including from an actor named Denzel Washington. To help him go off and study. Yeah, so everybody saw that this guy was special. He's teaching drama in Brooklyn, moves to LA in 2008. That's when he finally decided he wanted to really do this acting thing. And he was doing theater here, writing, directing, and acting in theater for years. And he one of his early gigs, and this is just kind of amazing to me, is he got a gig on All My Children. And he got fired from his gig on All My Children because he was making a stink about the racial stereotypes in the scripts of the characters he was playing.
Well, he's always been that way.
Yeah. And you want to know who got cast in his place when he got fired?
Who?
Michael B. Jordan.
That is hilarious.
Right?
Wow. Who had no problem, apparently.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And he's directing a play off Broadway in the East Village when he got cast in 42, and that's in 2013. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about these other films, but thinking about like the fact that this guy played Jackie Robinson, Thurgood Marshall, James Brown, and the King of Wakanda. I mean, that's a remarkable set of roles, you know? And I wish I had him here that we could ask him, was that on purpose? Did you choose these? Did you have a plan? You know, because most actors, they don't get an opportunity to decide what kind of roles they're going to do. But that's a remarkable set of roles.
I would have to go back and search I'd have to rewatch the interview, but I was blessed to have interviewed him during the Captain America Civil War release when that happened, and I actually brought that up. Ironically, I messed up in the interview, and I was like, "Man, I nicknamed you Mr. History, like you played, Jackie Robinson and Jackie Brown." And he goes, "You mean James Brown?" And I was like, "Oh shit!" And he was just like, he was like, "No, it's totally fine. I love when people do that. They do it all the time." But I'd have to double check his thought on it, because I just asked him. I was like, "What is it like to play this many iconic Black characters?" And to make that your thing. Like, everybody has their thing, before upsetting hella Black people on Twitter. I mean, Terry Crews was the high energy, muscle guy, you go to say Chris Rock if you need a really funny lead or supporting character to come in and do stuff. And this is what Chadwick does. Chadwick comes in and played people that were larger than life.
And people at critical moments in history. And what's interesting to me, too, is they're not the same. If you watch his performances as Jackie Robinson, and you watch James Brown, and you watch Thurgood Marshall, which is my favorite of them, by the way, they're all different.
Wow.
But that's a testament to his range as an actor, and also to show that even when need be, he can be comedic in a sense. Because we get these serious roles. When you're talking about Jackie Robinson in 42, we're watching the struggles of a Black man trying to make it in the majors, and to have to deal with that level and that range. But then you go to James Brown, who has some of that, but he's known as one of the greatest entertainers in the world at the time. We see that. You get the thing of the seriousness and the brevity in when he plays Thurgood Marshall. But then you go into Black Panther, where he starts to, at first when we see him in Civil War, it's one thing, right? But then when we get to Black Panther itself, he has a little more fun with the role, because you see him playing around a lot more. You see the humor in it and everything, and the different levels of Chadwick as an actor.
I think he shows incredible. And again, it just goes to why this guy's at such a loss, because you go, man, what else did he have in him?
There was so much to come. You know what I'm saying? I'd be hard-pressed to believe, Steve, that a man who raised a stink on All My Children, and probably for not that big of a role, would step forward and not have a conscious path here to create something new. If you watch his to take on these characters, to show that the Black community can play these other characters, can carry weight in the theater, and it says in that Howard graduation speech, or what he says there, or whatever is the valedictorian speech, or whatever it is, he says you have to make a conscious decision to walk a new path, to walk a different path, and don't be afraid to walk that path. You may feel alone on that path, but the doors that were shut for you, God will open them if it is your destiny to walk down that path. Absolutely. And so for him, he is proof positive of that. So to me, I think it was very much a conscious effort, and thank God for doing so. Thank God for doing so. It's really powerful for him to do that and show that you don't have to play these stereotypical characters, which all of us, Winston and Jay and I, certainly know as actors of color, we are confronted by those roles all the frickin' time and wonder if we should or shouldn't take them. Certainly Hollywood Shuffle and Bamboozled are two incredible movies that show you how dangerous that path is to walk.
But it was a beautiful thing about those movies, too, because they pulled no punches.
Yep.
Right.
And because of movies like that, pulling no punches, you have these actors who can come forth and saying, look, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's interesting to me, I like 42, but I love Marshall. And his performance in Thurgood Marshall has such confidence in a way, the way that character exists within that world is so amazing to watch.
Yeah.
Is the choices he makes. A little bit about Black Panther. Obviously, it's a Marvel comic created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in 1966. I didn't know the first plan to make a movie of it. Do you guys know?
It was done a while. The script had been a while. There'd been a Black Panther in place for a while, and it was they didn't know if it would ever get traction. At one point, then there was another director before it gave it to Ava, who turned around and gave it to Ryan.
Right. Well, and the first one is Wesley Snipes, 1992.
That's the one. Yep.
Oh. John Singleton possibly going to direct.
Damn.
Right. And of course, Yeah, that never happened. He did Blade instead. And then, as you say, when, Marvel Cinematic Universe starts, they start announcing that Black Panther is going to happen. I think, Ava DuVernay as a first director, man, that would have been an interesting movie too.
Yeah.
Ryan Coogler hired in 2016, and Chadwick Boseman plays Black Panther for the first time in Civil War, right at the same time he gets diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
I don't understand how a human could do what he did over those next 4 years.
I feel like just from again with the experience with it, the thing that I think people would say about him the most is just how giving of a spirit he is. And I think that's one of those things that, finding out he was stage 3 at the time, that's not necessarily a death sentence, but it's not great. You know what I mean? And I think that there was a mix of both. I want to be able to give this to people. That's why the infamous, interview of those 2 young kids that were trying to hold on so they could see Black Panther, why it got to him so much. But I think the other part of it is whether you're religious or not, there is this idea of fate or purpose. And I feel like he knew, regardless of how his fight was going to go, that his purpose was to play this role. I mean, to play all of them that he did. But I think it was not lost on anybody in that film how important that movie was aiming to be. I think it went above and beyond the wildest imaginations of what they thought, considering, where it held in the box office, considering it's the only MCU movie with an Oscar, considering it led a cultural revolution. You know what I mean? I think that deep down he knew this is supposed to be how I leave my mark. As much as all the other films, I would never take away from 42 or Thurgood or Get On Up or anything like that. But you know how just there's certain things you do in life and you just know.
Yeah.
I think that's the vibe that kind of read off of him when it came to Black Panther.
Yeah, it seems like this is for the bigger purpose. This is for his race. This is for his people. This is for what was his destiny, his purpose. Like, this is a bigger platform, a way bigger stage to show what he can do and to show that there is an audience for this character. There's an audience who wants to see MCU movies, who maybe wouldn't normally go see other MCU movies, but there's something proud to speak about. Africa to Los Angeles, that connection of the Black community in both areas, like that, all of it, it was operating on a way bigger level, and so there was a responsibility on his end to see this thing out.
It is. It definitely was, excuse me. And, to know that he had a director and he could trust in Ryan Coogler. Somebody coming off a movie as powerful and impactful as Fruitvale Station. To go from that legacy, the legacy, yes, of Oscar Grant, to tell us the legacy of a comic book character. And when you say that, it's because for some people, that was the only character they gravitated to. Of course, when you have the Spider-Man, the X-Men, the Batman, Supermans, all them, but then you have somebody who looks like you. And not only does he look like you, he is powerful. And I'm not talking about in strength. He is a king of a nation and the richest character in the entire comic book universe. You see what I'm saying? You have those things. And then when you go into Black Panther, you're not only talking about the legacy of Africa, you're talking about Oakland as well. You're putting Oakland on the map in representation.
That was, to me, the biggest part that I thought that was so beautiful, knowing that, obviously Ryan Coogler has such strong ties to Oakland, to have that go full circle. So again, like you said, his first feature being Fruitvale and telling a very human story, but a very tragic one of the death of Oscar Grant, to then bring it back to a similar death at the start of this film, but then to be like, Oakland is where Wakanda is going to come in and we're going to help improve relations for African Americans and for Black people in the world. Like, I think that's beautiful storytelling in and of itself that I know Ryan did on purpose. You know what I mean? And again, I feel like, Chadwick was proud to be a part of it. I mean, it came out not shortly after his death that he was the one that came up with Killmonger's death line.
Yep.
The fact that he was like, this needs to go deeper. Like, why doesn't he talk about how he doesn't want to, die in chains? He'd rather die free. Like, that's how Chadwick's mind moved. He was moving throughout cultural symbolism and whatnot.
Well, and this goes back to him being a writer and a director, that he's thinking beyond, what the meaning of it. And I'm going to say just a really weird thing, which is that this is, when we're recording this, is just a few days since we lost Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And regardless of the politics, this is a person who was holding on through cancer in order to just stay long enough to do what she thought was right. And I know it's a weird comparison between a Supreme Court justice who is 87 years old and this young man who is acting in a Marvel Comics movie, and yet I think there's something there. I think he was holding on,
1,000%. I don't think that that's a weird comparison, because inspiration and hope is just as important as actual
as the law
legislation and change. You know what I'm saying? Like you need someone like Chadwick to encourage the next Obama. You need someone like Diana Themyscira to help encourage the next Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I mean, you have Ruth Bader Ginsburg to inspire the next Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But you know what I'm saying? It's that mentality of I can be powerful, I can be good, I can be all these things is what inspires the next generation to find their own way to do the same.
Well, also, when you're an actor, one of the things we know is we do a performance and we want people to see that, and we want our performances to resonate with people. But again, you have somebody who they want their performance in real life as opposed to the fictitious life behind the camera to resonate. And that's something you got out of Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, 100%. And interesting, Ryan Coogler, I already respected him a lot, but then digging into this movie, my respect for him just went through the roof. One thing he said was, he says that this was his most personal movie so far. And I think that is a fascinating thing, because you think the guy made his independent, film, he did Fruitvale Station, about where he grew up, and now he's doing the big, huge, giant Marvel movie. But the Marvel movie is the most personal. And listening to him talk about it, I really understand why. He grew up reading comic books. And one of his big deals with Marvel was, I need to bring my people from Fruitvale Station are going to work on this movie, including Rachel Morrison, his cinematographer, production designer Hannah Beachler, which, by the way, the commentary track is Ryan Coogler and his production designer. And she is amazing. What an incredible person, and what an incredible vision. We'll get into some of that. Brought his composer on. He took a lot of elements from Ta-Nehisi Coates' run on the comics.
Yep.
I didn't realize that Donald Glover and his brother Steven did a draft of Black Panther. I had no idea.
Wow.
Yeah. And everyone working on this said, wait, this is an opportunity to do something very, very special with this film. And it's funny, John and I, we just came off of doing $1 Million Baby. Now, $1 Million Baby and Black Panther are obviously movies that are very, very different. But one of the things that we kept seeing in $1 Million Baby is how deeply connected thematically everything is in the film. Everything is there for a reason. Everything is supporting the themes. And I think that is 100% true of this film. This is a really deep film. And the more you dig into it, the deeper it gets.
Yeah.
And one thing I found interesting is that where Ryan Coogler says he starts is he needed to start with a question. And the first question he asked, because he grew up in Oakland, like Killmonger. By the way, I was living in Oakland right around the time of the flashbacks in this film. And what his big question he wanted to ask was, if there was a Wakanda, how would I feel?
Yep.
And that's a deep, deep question. And that led him to think about things like, am I my brother's keeper? Or who is my brother? And that led him to think about the difference between altruism and self-preservation. And that led him to think about ideas of colonization and borders and identity. And that led him to go, you know what? I have to go to Africa, because I've never been to Africa. And that trip to Africa led him, with his crew and different people, led him into all these discoveries, which he brought back into this film. I think it's really remarkable.
That's how you get the language of show shot in the movie, because, again, his visit.
Yep, absolutely.
Looking at the wardrobe and the actual print and the design from the tribes themselves, and to take that symbolism and bring it back and apply it to Wakanda.
And this is the thing I want you to think about as you watch this movie. Yeah, it's a great Marvel movie, great action sequences, great superhero stuff. It's all there, but everything is here for a reason. And there's a deep structure underneath of it thematically that is profound to me. Would you like to get into this film?
Let's do it.
Yeah, because I have something about the very opening I don't think very few people realize.
Well, the opening is this prologue where we hear the story told and we hear the history of Wakanda. What is the thing that we don't know about?
This is Killmonger's arc.
Yeah.
The story is Killmonger's
100%.
arc.
Yep.
That's Eric asking Njobu to tell him about home.
Baba,
Yes, my son.
tell me a story.
Which one?
The story of home.
The movie is not T'Challa's arc. It's Killmonger's arc.
I think that makes so much sense because who does Ryan Coogler connect with, particularly at the beginning?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's Killmonger.
It's Killmonger's arc.
Yeah. Didn't hit me until I was watching it today with headphones on. And I heard, This Is Us, the actor.
Sterling K. Brown.
Yeah, I heard Sterling K. Brown, and I was like, oh my God. He is talking to Killmonger as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Millions of years ago, a meteorite made of vibranium, the strongest substance in the universe, struck the continent of Africa, affecting the plant life around it. And when the time of men came, 5 tribes settled on it and called it Wakanda.
Son of a... And it just never occurred to me because I just always defaulted thinking it was T'Challa's dad, T'Chaka, who was talking to him. But no, it's him. And I was like, oh my... Wow, what a whole different perspective it throws in the movie. Yeah.
It was why, like, I caught it even the first time I watched it, but it didn't click until they decided to open in Oakland. The first live action that we see is in Oakland, and I was like, well, you can't have a flashback if somebody in the flashback isn't present.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's the only reason why I connected those dots. You know, it is something that does get missed the same way that a lot of people don't realize that Avengers Infinity War is not an Avengers movie. It's a Thanos movie.
Yeah.
That is Thanos' movie. The Avengers Endgame is about the Avengers.
Yep.
But Infinity War is a Thanos movie. And the same thing. This is, even though it is titled Black Panther and whatnot, this is 1,000% Killmonger's film.
Well, one of the things Ryan Coogler said is the movie's called Black Panther. It's not called T'Challa.
And people
Killmonger
forget,
is also a Black Panther.
He's also a Black Panther. And
Right.
people
Yeah.
forget that.
Right.
We see the Golden Jaguar suit because that's the one that he puts on. It's called the Golden Jaguar, but it's still representative of the Black Panther.
right.
And so we all hear Black Panther, Black Panther. We're all like, yeah, Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa. That's the Black Panther. But we forget until later when he gets the suit, we just look at it as a momentary thing instead of going all the way back to the very beginning from the very first 5 minutes of the film.
Absolutely. Well, and the big thing that's set up is, we get the history of Wakanda, that vibranium is there, we get where the superpowers come from, but we also get this decision where Wakanda decides to separate themselves from the world.
Yeah.
And that is the key thematic choice within the film that we're going to explore from all these different angles, is what is the consequence from this choice of choosing not to be involved when all sorts of terrible things go and happen in the world.
But as Wakanda thrived, the world around it descended further into chaos.
Which also, if you notice, they talk about all the terrible things. We got, a lot of people forget that when they talk about how the world changes, you see actual slavery happen.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh,
They
God.
make sure to show you. Not only do you see the wars, but you see American slavery happen. And it's, again, the themes that you see are done for a reason. There's a reason you see slavery happen because, again, as we'll go into later, what Killmonger talks about.
Yep, 100%. Well, and if we go right from there to Oakland in 1992, and this is, Ryan Coogler was 6 years old in Oakland in 1992. He put the milk crate up on the basketball hoop. Like, he understood this world. And we start with the kids, and they see something glowing in the sky. By the way, this was shot in Atlanta, and it's shot right across the street from the church where Martin Luther King is buried.
Wow.
Good.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, that's not part of the movie, but I bet when they were filming, that was part of the movie. You know what I mean?
Smart.
I almost wouldn't be surprised if his production designer and if Ryan didn't openly go, let's try and find something like that. Not just as like an Easter egg, but like, again, knowing that this movie is for the culture like that they wouldn't have put the energy into trying to add that as part of the story.
We go inside where we meet Sterling K. Brown, and now we see one of the first aesthetic choices that's made, which is that Sterling K. Brown is dressed in blue. And blue, every color has a meaning in this film. Yeah. And blue is the color of colonization. And because the slaves were taken across the ocean to another world through the Middle Passage, and that color blue is marked onto everything having to do with the Western world. And Zuri, who's James, who he's with, is wearing purple because that's the color of the spiritual tribe in Wakanda. So everything's here is for a reason, and they are planning something. And they have guns, and they hear something, and they go, "Is this the feds?" And I have a question. Did any of you, are you guys thinking about the Black Panther Party at this moment?
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting.
Go ahead.
Growing up in the Bay Area like that, and I was a kid in the 70s, like that was just clearly, we're in Oakland. Are the feds coming? This is like the Black Panther Party. Like that's the first thing I'm thinking about.
I might be hallucinating because I saw the film again recently. I want to say the week Chad died, so it's been almost a month. But if I'm not even mistaken, there's even a moment where you see either Zuri or
Njobu.
Yeah, Njobu. Like one of them does that classic look out the window, like Malcolm X, famous photo of Malcolm X doing that. So like I 1,000% connected those dots, and that's what that was, because that ends up being Killmonger's almost platform is exactly that, is that like I'm out to defend my brother, et cetera, you know what I mean? So I saw that symbolism early on. It was kind of interesting to see how that evolves even in this scene, once T'Chaka shows up.
And by the way, one of Michael B. Jordan's, the people he was looking at were Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Bobby Seale, Huey Newton, like those people. And the thing, it's so weird to me, and apparently from everything I read, there's no connection that the first Black Panther comic comes out in July of 1966. The Black Panther Party is founded in October of 1966. Like they're right, and apparently no connection with what Stan Lee said is that, or there's a rumor that the name Black Panther came from the 761st Tank Battalion, which was a segregated army regiment in World War II that had 1 Medal of Honor, 11 Silver Stars, 300 Purple Hearts, and one of the guys serving in that regiment, Jackie Robinson.
Wow.
That's where the name Black Panther came from. But I just got to say, I'm going to say it real quick, but it feels important to this film. What was the Black Panther Party formed for? It was formed as a police watch group to monitor police behavior in the Oakland Police Department against police brutality. Like that's 1966. By 1969, they're serving free meals to kids. They're running health clinics, education clinics. They get infiltrated by the FBI and destroyed.
Yeah.
And
for those of you who are listening, do your research. Find out. Don't just get spoon-fed the stuff you hear about the Black Panther Party and the easy clickable clickbait headlines that you read. Do your research and really find out what happened here, and then think to yourself why they would want to destroy it. Think about that, and think about what's happening now with how you hear people wanting to destroy Black Lives Matter movement all the time. That's definitely the fallback of a lot of people. Just immediately destroy it. And then they go, well, what about America and all their history? No, we can't teach that. What's the difference? If you're going to destroy one movement, one section, one people for things that an occasional minority does within it, what's the difference? Then you should have that judgment on everything. And if you can accept the country for the mistakes that it's made, then you better look at that movement a second time and analyze that a little bit more correctly in your mind.
Mm-hmm. No, I 1,000% agree. I mean, there was this constant idea of trying to compare the Black Panther Party to the Klan, but they couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, and if you want to know why you can't carry a weapon openly in California, it's because Ronald Reagan signed a law to stop the Black Panther Party from carrying guns.
Oh, yeah. That was literally people forget that very easily. People are like, oh, why can't you open carry in California? Some people will go, well, the Black Panther Party. Yeah, but why? Reagan did it because they legally were able to. And the moment the Black Party took arms, he was like, no.
So we're in this room in Oakland, and there's a knock on the door, and James looks through the peephole, and there are these two women looking spears. I love his line.
These two Grace Jones looking chicks. They own spears.
But boys, open the door because they're not going to knock.
They're not going to knock again.
He said it so calmly too. They won't do it. They won't knock again.
Yeah. And they ask his name, and he says,
Prince Njobu, son of Azuri.
And one of the themes that Ryan Coogler says is throughout this film is hiding in plain sight.
Mm-hmm.
That's something we're going to see over and over again. And they ask him to prove who he is, and he lowers his lip, and we see this tattoo, this glowing tattoo.
The war dog tattoo.
The war dog. Is that what it's called?
It's called a war dog tattoo.
And then in walks Black Panther. But not our Black Panther, because this is T'Chaka. This is his father.
Which his suit was actually pretty cool.
It was pretty awesome.
I want to just say for the record, that suit was pretty dope.
I'm cool with what Shuri came up with, but that's a dope suit.
but like the funny thing about that too, that I love seeing the suit is you could, and this is even more beautiful, like production, storytelling, and costume design is like it looks dope, but it also looks old school. So when you do get T'Challa's suit, you go, damn, we have advanced in 20 years. Like you see the technological upgrades at the same time. It's pretty
very cool. And the actor playing T'Chaka is Atandwa. I think it's Atandwa Kani, which is the son of this. Yeah,
John Connie's son.
Yeah. And these are brothers, and they embrace, and we go, oh, okay, this is gonna be all right. And then we start hearing about this theft of vibranium, and he basically asks what he knows about it.
Why are you here?
Because I want you to look me in the eyes and tell me why you betrayed Wakanda.
Like, do we pay attention to how cold that he did it? How T'Chaka did it? He says, I want you to look me in the eye and just tell me why you betrayed. Didn't even go like, I'm going to give you a chance to explain. Like, I want you to, try to come up with some story, not explain, excuse me, but give some like BS reasoning why you did it. Like, just look me in the eye and tell me, because I know. You can't lie about it. He's basically like, you can't lie about this at this moment. Trust me, I know. And then, and Jobu's like, what are you talking about, sir?
This is the thing, is that one of the things about this movie is the destruction of the perfect father, is that we want to believe that T'Chaka is the great man. But one of the things about this film is like, what is the great sin here? It's connected to T'Chaka. And then what we have, another betrayal, because he turns to James, and it ends up that he too is from Wakanda, and he is a spy on your spy. Mm-hmm. It's another betrayal, another hiding in plain sight, and that actor is Denzel Whitaker, who has no relationship to Denzel or Forrest Whitaker.
But looks like no, Denzel Whitaker is not related to Forrest Whitaker, even though he looks exactly like him.
He looks exactly like him. And even to the point where does he also have like the eye condition?
It looks like he does, but it's not the exact same thing. I know what you're saying, but yeah, everybody thought that was Forrest Whitaker's son. It's not.
That's wild. That is absolutely wild.
Did you think that you were the only spy we sent here? Prince Njobu. You will return home at once, where you will face the council and inform them of your crimes.
And we cut to the kid outside who looks up, and they see lights in the sky go through the sky, and he drops his ball.
And it's weird because he just, you think about this, the kid just knew. I mean, there's nothing that references that says you should go specifically to your apartment. Mm-hmm. If we think about it, because even when we talk about it, he just knows to go home to his apartment. He sees the ship go. And then he's like, oh, but now that I think about it, again, it goes back to the very beginning.
He knows
about Wakanda. But that's what I'm thinking. But I'm just saying, like, you have to put these pieces together.
Yo, you want to hear another little twist that you probably didn't even think about, Jay? A little black Easter egg for you. When did Eric go home? when the lights came on, bruh.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
It wasn't, but it wasn't even the street lights. The lights of Wakanda literally lit up.
Went home,
and that made him not only go home to his apartment, but him decide, I need to go.
I need to go home.
You see what I'm saying? It's like, I know that sounds like a weird kind of whatever, but for that to be the last thing he sees is the lights to come on.
Yeah,
I would not doubt that at all.
Ryan
would drop.
So this is a
like
Black Mama thing. We need you to know.
Well, this is the thing about this movie, is that it's thematically connected, because what we don't know when we're watching the first time, but what we later find out is that that Prince Njobu, who is dead, he's been killed by T'Chaka, and that this kid is going to go home and find a dead body. And that this is a child of Wakanda that is just completely abandoned, left behind. And that is A, horrible, and B, symbolic of the relationship from Wakanda to, African Americans, to the slave trade, to that is all of the children, all of the family that they have left behind.
And that's the reason why, because the mother of the child who died is not Wakandan. She's from Oakland.
Yeah.
So that's why he left the child. He's like, yo, even though his mother's dead, like, yo, you can stay. You're not a pure Wakandan child.
Well, I think the other thing that this does really great symbolism with, and again, just Ryan's connection to Oakland, it's the same issue that you have with gang violence in cities like Oakland and whatnot, where it is a situation of these internal squabbles amongst brothers are leaving children orphaned. So it's almost in and of itself another metaphor for what someone that was raised in a situation like that might also have to deal with. I mean, it's crazy how layered Ryan and the team really made this film. And we're what, 5 minutes in?
Right, we're literally 5 minutes in.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, what do you expect? A child who, is born into violence becomes a violent person. Why would you expect anything else to happen? And then we go to the present day, and we're in Wakanda, and we're in Wakanda, but we're in what Ryan Coogler describes as the Air Force One of Wakanda. And we're hearing kind of the update, a little exposition drop. And I love, by the way, how technology is handled in Wakanda. It is so cool. There's so many cool ideas here.
The sand tables are the best part. Giving you the 3D model of everything you need to know in the moment.
And again, I just want to point out, this is all figured out. So when you decide, I'm going to design Wakanda, you have to figure out what the technology is, how the technology works. And one of their goals was that it needs to be more advanced than anything we've seen in the Marvel Universe. And it has to be connected to African aesthetics, African culture, African way of doing things. And so everything is built on that, It's some amazing design stuff. And we look down and we see there's this caravan, and then we hear, that he's going to go down and do something, and Okoye is with him, and she goes, wants to come with him.
No, you got to go to the face she makes beforehand, because she grabs her spear. She's like about to go, and he's like, no, General, I have this. And she got that face like, okay.
No need, Okoye. I can handle this alone.
Like she had that "if you say so" face. Okay.
I will get Nakia out as quickly as possible.
Just don't freeze when you see her.
What are you talking about? I never freeze.
And he drops out of that plane, again, arms sort of folded in that Wakandan salute, throws some blue thing on the car, which is like an electromagnetic pulse or something, wipes him out. And the cars won't start. And now we're in sort of this scary moment where these people, soldiers, they don't know what's happening. And then we get to see Black Panther take them out one by one. And one of the choices he made is that it's all lit by tracer bullets, by flashes, by explosions that you only see a little. It's almost Batman-like in the way they handle Black Panther in this scene. Mm-hmm. And we also cut into this truck where there's a group of women, including Lupita Nyong'o, who's Nakia. And when Black Panther sees him, what does he do?
He goes, he just goes, hi.
Hi.
Like he's a lovelorn kid at the moment. He's just, hi.
It's literally like Into the Spider-Verse level of freeze,
Yep.
Yep. Hey.
And then, of course, Okoye jumps down and kicks some ass. She might be my favorite character in this movie. It's so hard to pick.
Yeah.
But look, everywhere she is, she's amazing.
Look, Denai Guerrera is one of the best choices of casting you could have for this role. We already knew how badass she was as Michonne in The Walking Dead. Yeah. So coming into that, and then you're putting her in this top rank of this elite female fighting force, that there are no dudes in any part of the Dora Milaje. There are no dudes.
And the fact that not only are there no dudes, but all the dudes in Wakanda are terrified of them. Even in the battle that we're going to get to at the end of the film, it's like 12 of them versus the entire tribes by themselves, and they're handling them for the most part.
Well, that's one of the other great things about this movie. In addition to dealing with African American issues and all the cultural issues, this is a woman's movie. You know what I mean? So a bunch of the most powerful, most important characters are women in this film. And we also, without really any exposition, we get a sense of what the deal is here. That this is some war, and there are these women being captured, and they're young boys that are being forced into this military, and all this stuff without putting a lot on it. And that Nakia is here to help. And I love the moment too, because this is going to be one of the tensions: is how much do we go into the outside world and help, or do we stay away? And
remember, she tells him, "You ruined my mission." She tells him, "I had a job to do, and you just came here and ruined it." Basically, not to sound harsh, but to tell me your daddy died.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't have texted me. Like, this is Wakanda. We have advanced technology. You could have got this message to me somehow.
But I think that's what's brilliant, isn't it? Because before you get too reverential about Black Panther, you humanize him with this thing that all of us have gone through, where we get in front of a woman we like and we stumble around with our words and do stupid things and like make excuses to see them. And this is what he did, and it's brilliant. It keeps you from getting too far into like idolizing him. It's more about humanizing him, and certainly in that moment you get that. So I love it.
Well, and like in all good movies, we're doing multiple stuff. We're introducing these thematic things. We're introducing this romantic relationship. We're introducing like what the world is like outside of Wakanda. We learn a lot about Okoye and and I love the moment, by the way, where she tells the women, like, "You will tell no one." And then there's a little smile where you could see that she's happy that they did this thing.
Well, because the other thing that's so interesting, and that they get into that further in the movie, and most people know, Wakanda really is about just, we Wakanda. We don't mess with nobody. So this was purely because we had to go fetch Nakia. We'll save these people, which is why she's like, "You ain't gonna tell a goddamn soul."
I mean, yeah, because Okoye did come out of whole like speak nothing, and the fact like it's almost as if the legend of the Dora Milaje holds weight itself,
and the Black Panther
holds weight because all those women were basically like, "Okay, I mean, we just happened to get up out of here. We don't know what happened."
One of the other themes is the tension between the traditional and the modern, and that Okoye sits at a really interesting place in there, and where she is in terms of getting out into the outside world.
Sister Nakia, my prince, we are home.
And we have that great moment where we fly, through the illusion into the world of Wakanda. Unbelievable.
That was the first time I cried a bit. Like, I cried throughout this entire movie. Winston, I think you probably did too.
Oh,
okay. This was the moment I think I really broke down the first time, because I just saw brought to life my childhood. Not just the character, but his world. There's certain ways you see Wakanda in the comic books, and you have to have a perception of what it would look like third and fourth dimensional. But now you see it. Yeah. And it is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I didn't cry here. I can tell you the moments that I do. Most of them actually involve Killmonger. Yeah. But I audibly gasped. I definitely was like they went through it. I said, like just completely like a child that just found out that they're getting a dog for Christmas. Like, I was just like mind blown.
I mean, the jump Ryan does here from like Creed or Fruitvale to this movie is incredible. Because that sequence alone shows you the breadth of the vision that he had for this movie and the incredible people working with him who brought it to life, you know?
And you got to give credit to Ludwig Göransson, the composer.
Yeah.
The score for that moment, when she is over the horizon, and when Okoye she's driving the ship, and she says, "Sister Nakia, my prince, we are home." And if you hear, it's almost like that beginning of the Lion King moment, where the sun is rising over the horizon, and you hear this waking up of everything, and then as it comes through, you see the farmers and herders. It's everyone's greeting the royal Talon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's this beautiful orchestra that accompanies it going into Wakanda before they land.
Did you feel? I mean, this is just me as a white dude asking this question, but like that moment of "we are home," I would think that has significance. Mm-hmm. Like that has deep meaning, you know.
Oh, 1,000%. And it's something that I've always wanted to do. I haven't been fortunate enough to travel to the continent of Africa yet. But it's something that I've heard from a number of Black people that have from America, from all over the world, but especially from America, to go from a situation where you're counting how many Black people you can see in the room to feel any sort of like kind of safety or inclusivity, to everywhere you look, everybody looks like you. And you know, and on top of that, like Jay mentioned about how beautiful Wakanda is, it was through, since this is through storytelling, it was that moment of just like, damn, like, yo, we home, baby. Like even to the point where I made fun of John the other day on a show we did where he made a comment. And I was like, you know what, that was so off base. I turned my Zoom background into Wakanda. I was like, I had to go home. I had to it 1,000% has this feeling. And that's what came out of this movie. That's why everybody doing the Wakanda Forever salute and doing the M'Baku challenge and everything that came out of this film, it all tied back to us talking about, we are Wakanda and we are kings and we are, so 1,000%.
We get off the plane and we meet Shuri, his sister, Letitia Wright, and of course the great Angela Bassett. Oh,
just regal, man.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
And I love that we have a little moment in this very formal thing where they go, "Did you freeze?"
Like an antelope in headlights.
so great.
But again, that humor we talked about earlier with Chadwick. Again, this is the humorous part. This is that brother and sister. No matter what, they're prince and princess. He's about to be king. And at the end of the day, they are still just brother and sister who will nag and ride on each other.
And one of the things they're going to talk about is she's there because she wants to improve a piece of technology. And he's like, it's fine. And her attitude is everything can be improved. And again, the tension between the traditional and the advancement. And Shuri represents clearly change. She's all about change.
It's that part of that theme you brought up, Steve. Again, anything can be improved. The way we handle our relations with the world, the way we are as a culture, things can improve. It's nothing wrong with it. Even when you go, the next scene, which is setting up for the initiation, the tribal, the coronation, Shuri challenges it then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I love the pairings that they do of that. So remember, Okoye and Nakia also represent that, because Nakia being going to be a spy and being out, there's a conversation she has later about like, we need to expand what we think is whatever, because I'm more hell-bent on protecting not just our country, but the world, where Nakia where Okoye is of the mindset of, I defend Wakanda. So it's that push-pull happens with so many pairings of characters, and it's beautiful to see another setup right here, like you said, of Shuri representing that change.
Well, one of the things Ryan Coogler said that I thought was so interesting is that he was inspired by the movie Lincoln and by The West Wing, is that he likes that multiple people having different points of view arguing about things. And that's what we see in these stances in Nakia and Okoye, and like they all represent slightly different positions that we're going to try to negotiate out.
Yep.
Even Wakabi, when we get to him later.
Absolutely.
Daniel Kaluuya's character, Wakabi does, M'Baku does. All these, like you said, all of these different people have a different point of view of life. And the fact is, they all are right collectively.
Yeah. That's my guy.
Well, and we're going to do all of this in a big, huge Marvel action movie where it's going to be totally satisfying in its superhero-ness. Let's head off to what seems like the British Museum.
How can I help you?
I was just checking out these artifacts. They tell me you're the expert.
You could say that.
And again, there's so much in this scene, and we are going to meet Michael B. Jordan.
Winston, before he cut his dreads, as a matter of fact, the inspiration.
Yeah, you're not wrong. That was definitely wore my jean jacket, my Sherpa jacket all the time, just to pretend to be
the charisma coming off this guy is like is off the charts. How powerful he is in every moment he's on screen.
Don't tell RB3, but yeah.
And by the way, some of his look is based on Tupac, which I didn't realize. But I was like, again, he's connecting all sorts of stuff here. And what is the British Museum? This is the place where the colonizers came and took everybody's shit. Yeah. So again, this is stealing, just like stealing people to this other world. This is stealing their stuff, stealing their most important artifacts, and putting it behind a glass case.
Where's this one from?
The Bobo Ashanti tribe, present-day Ghana, 19th century.
For real? And what about this one?
That one's from the Edo people of Benin, 16th century.
And you see a moment where this woman her stomach hurts a little. Something's going on with her.
Tell me about this one.
Also from Benin, 7th century, Fula tribe, I believe.
And Killmonger says,
Nah.
I beg your pardon.
It was taken by British soldiers in Benin, but it's from Wakanda, and it's made out of vibranium.
And she was like, because she didn't even believe, she was like, wait, what? He was like, don't worry, I'm going to take it off your hand. The fact that again, the swagger, as you just brought up in him, don't worry, I'm going to take it off your hands.
Yeah. And her reaction was, we're not selling these.
How do you think your ancestors got these? You think they paid a fair price? Or did they take it like they took everything else?
Strong.
This is why he's such a good character.
But again, it's real. Again, it's one of those things that's real, but then it also goes back to Ta-Nehisi Coates' run. If you read Ta-Nehisi's run, it is very political, if you will. It's about the politics within Wakanda. So when people find themselves getting upset, like, why are you bringing politics into this? A, you must never have read comic books a day in your life because they all are predicated on it, from politics to classism, socioeconomics, all that. But then this particular run that was the basis for this is all about the internal struggles within Wakanda. I've read Ta-Nehisi's run numerous times over again before the movie came out. Because that's all it is. It's a political drama within the country.
You got all this security in here watching me ever since I walked in, but you ain't checking for what you put in your body.
And the moment of realization from her is great.
Yeah.
And then in comes some medics. Just right away, man. They got called really fast, and there is Andy Serkis's claw.
Yeah, Ulysses.
I might like this character as much as Gollum.
It's yeah.
I think he likes that character as much as Gollum. If we're gonna be honest with ourselves, Andy Serkis watch every scene with Andy Serkis in this movie. He is having the time of his life.
Oh yeah,
really, he really is. And we haven't even for me, my favorite scene with him is coming up when we get to the casino. But you could tell. Even just a few moments later when the medics come in and now they're staging all the murders. Yeah. Even go ahead, you can go. Why would you do that? Oh, so now it looks like Ever just did it. He's just out here.
Why you just didn't shoot him right here, bro?
And his weird hand opens up, shatters this case on this one thing that's supposed to be from Wakanda. By the way, gloves blue, color of the colonizers. And he grabs this item, uses his sonic powers or whatever to knock the rust off, and we see, this thing is vibranium. And then Killmonger is looking at this mask.
Do y'all know about the mask?
No, tell us.
It's the mask from the comics. It's what it wears in the comic. It's from the comics. They made a representation of, if you look at Eric Killmonger in the comics, that mask is similar to the way he looked, the mask and stuff he has on in the comics. Nice. So that's why he used that.
And then the medics roll out, with them in the gurney, and we have, had a great little theft of this piece of vibranium, and now we're going to go back to Wakanda for the coronation. This whole setup is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Again, another crying moment because it's beautiful. The way it's set up, it's beautiful. Not even when they get to the actual coronation setup, the going to on the river. the dancing, the colors, the tribes together.
It's a celebration.
That was the first time I cried. I got a little misty when we saw this. I cried after this scene was over, just because of the pomp and circumstance of it all. But this is the beginning of me starting to feel those emotions really just jar loose.
It's a celebration of this culture, and there's a joy in it, and you're like, I understand this and I respect it at the same time. And as a person who's not black or African, when you're watching this, you're just like, man. But, because we have this Latino community, we have these rituals, we have these dances, we have these celebrations. And so watching it, you can relate to it to a degree, but also seeing the joy and the vibrancy and the colors and everything and the respect. And then when the Dora Milaje do the thing with the swords and it sends that huge, power surge through the water, you're just like, man, this is just an awesome spectacle.
Tradition and technology.
Yeah.
Yep.
They drained a waterfall, dog. Where did no one tells us where the water goes to. Well,
True.
Well, and the crew making this film, they felt this huge responsibility, so that everything you're seeing is different ones of these tribes. In addition to having different color schemes, they have different accents that are from different regions in Nigeria. In Africa. So one's from Nigeria, one's from West Africa, one's from East Africa, one's from South Africa, and that they're using elements of those cultures. And one of the things that I was just thinking about is that, and I couldn't find the numbers, but there's surveys of Americans where there's a very high percentage that thinks Africa is a country of Americans, and so part of what they're doing is reversing that. And it's almost like they're taking all 54 countries of Africa and bringing them together, symbolizing in this one country. Our Americans' knowledge of Africa is like, for shit. Like really know absolutely nothing about this huge continent. And just the thing of like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the West Wing thing about the maps and how maps are racist. You absolutely have to check this out. It's because the Decatur map that like we're all used to looking at, it looks like Africa is about the same size as Greenland. Africa is like 10 times the size of Greenland. Is that everything about that map, or even just the idea that that Africa is on the bottom and Europe and North America is on the top. Well, why? There's no top and bottom in North and South. Like everything, and that's just such a basic thing of how we perceive the world. And they're saying in this comic book movie, we want to reverse that. Where Africa is the center of the universe. And then down comes T'Challa, shirtless, carrying a shield, onto Warrior Falls, which is an unbelievable set shot in Atlanta. Huge set. Now we get to see Forrest Whitaker as Zuri.
I, Zuri, son of Badu, give to you Prince T'Challa, the Black Panther.
And now we go through the ritual where he's going to drink something that's going to take away his powers of Black Panther, that's going to open him up to ritual combat if somebody wants to challenge him.
Winston, do the line.
The powers of the Black Panther shall be stripped away.
The prince will now have the power of the Black Panther. Like there were memes for days with that.
Yeah,
bro.
There were memes for days, but it was beautiful because again, this is that tradition. You're going to, if you want a challenge for the throne, because of course he should be coordinated, but there are 4 royal kingdoms. They're royal kingdoms, and we want it to be a fair fight. So take away these abilities and challenge T'Challa as T'Challa.
And we go through all the tribes. Do you want to challenge? Does the River Tribe want to challenge? No, we don't. The Border Tribe? No, we don't. And we meet Wakabi. We see Wakabi for the first time and see that he's important.
One of the biggest things I love seeing too, I think he was with the mining tribe with Nakia, the man who had the libret, the lip disc. Again, African culture in its purest. This is like a real thing. To not take that away, and it was something beautiful for me personally. It was something beautiful about seeing that, because that is African culture within itself. That's not something people can make it up, or people can say, "Oh, is this not real?" But that's the beauty of this excursion Coogler takes with his production team, and the notes and the things you bring back and say, "What to this uniqueness, to this experience, do we want to bring into this film?"
And there's this moment where, as the challenges goes around, Shuri challenges.
She like, can we get this over? Like, because this corset is killing me.
And mom gives her a pinch. But again, it's reinforcing this theme. She doesn't care about the traditions. She wants to take the air out of the traditions. She thinks this is a little bit silly.
I also find it interesting for those that are big just MCU fans in general. It really is almost the comparison of Shuri really is just like Tony Stark in the sense of like she is the futurist. She is very like, I don't give a shit about your tradition. Like when you were doing the press conference in Iron Man where he decides, you know what, everybody sit down. I'm just gonna sit, eat this burger. Everybody just sit. She's just like, can we get this on? I want to take this corset off. It's hot out here. Like I don't want to be here no more. And T'Challa really represents in that same breath that Captain America, that like, this is how we've always done it. I will uphold these things, etc. This is my duty, etc., etc. So it gives you a nice symbolism to that relationship as well.
Absolutely. Here comes Thor, and here comes the Black Thor. Yeah.
You are correct.
And I guess it's all going to be cool. No one's going to challenge. I guess he's just going to be the king, and it's all going to be great. And then you get this entrance.
Now we get to the people that I love.
This entrance is amazing.
Yes,
like just the way it's filmed, the slow motion, where the camera is, it's just so dramatic. And these guys coming up, and M'Baku is a character for the comics. His character in the comics is Man-Ape.
Glad that we got that.
When I heard the article was saying that they were going to do Man-Ape but change his name, I was like, yeah. Like,
we're good without that. Winston Duke, who just, man, he steals it. He really does. And he comes in, and this is the Jabari. We heard about them in the prologue, and this is the group that has gone up to the mountains. They have been very separate from Wakanda for centuries. And he comes in and says,
We have watched
from the mountain as technological advancement
have been over
to a child who skulls at tradition.
And now you want to hand the throne over to the boy who could not protect his father.
Oh.
We will not have it.
We will not have it.
Maybe this is the time you don't put that in and let them do the lines. I like it, Steve.
Oh, no, they're going to be in.
That was another but that was another, this monologue was a challenge that spread across social media fast.
Yeah.
Because it just was something about the power in which he delivered this.
Well, it was the beginning also of God knows how many women I know that wrote the most inappropriate tweets about Winston Duke, being like M'Baku can blow up stuff like that, because he come thundering talking about mass and like it was just so much.
Well, that was the moment I wished I was a black dude in Atlanta, because I'd have been one of them Jabari dudes. I'd have made my picture be a Jabari dude, like, yo, baby, you see me in this white chalk right here? This is me in the chalk.
Well, and this reinforces the same themes, because as Wakanda is the country that separated itself from Africa, Jabari is the tribe that separated themselves from Wakanda, and Shuri, who represents technology and advancement, and the Jabari represent tradition and staying where we're supposed to be. And so all these tensions between advancement and tradition, tensions between going out in the world, staying away from the world, they're all right here, right in this challenge.
And this is the tribe that's teased at the beginning, in the opening, when they say 4 of the tribes said yes, but 1 tribe went off on its own, and that is the Jabari tribe.
And which is crazy, because their resentment is technology as a whole.
Yeah.
Their biggest resentment is using vibranium to what it has become.
They're the Romulans. They don't trust AI. They don't trust technology. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and that's what I loved to see, was how they found a way to keep M'Baku true to his roots, but to get rid of the stuff that honestly was super problematic. First of all, in 2018, you can't be coming out introducing a character known as Man-Ape. That's not going to go over very well.
Can you be more specific, sir? You can't introduce a black character.
A large black man from the gorilla tribe
in Africa
known as Man-Ape. Do you know the racism that would have run rampant if they had done
I'm surprised it
so
did.
They found a way
I'm surprised it legitimately, to be quite, I'm being very honest. Yeah. I'm surprised somebody didn't do a dive and was like, wait, isn't this who was supposed to be man, ape, go? You know what I'm saying? I'm surprised we didn't have that.
I would say probably in the same way that even though everybody can kind of universally agree this is top 5 Marvel films, for me it still ranks in at either 1 or 2 depending on what day you strike me. I think there's this level of like people aren't going to necessarily go and challenge. I'm sure if you went and found the right Reddit page, somebody's hollering about this. But for the most part, I don't think anybody was like pushing that hard for the same reason. I think that they were kind of like, let's maybe not push this. I think the only thing that was a little weird for me, though I enjoyed it throughout the film and throughout the MCU, is that they took M'Baku away from being a villain and he really became an anti-hero as more
because he never was a villain. He never. I mean,
that's not true.
Well, I mean,
that's not true. He was.
I'm talking about in this movie. In this movie.
Yes, yes. In the movie.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying in the comics,
he's amazing.
He is hardcore.
Oh, yeah, he's hardcore. Oh, absolutely. He is definitely.
Essentially, what Killmonger is doing in this film is what Man Ape is constantly trying to do. Is be like, this is on me. Wakanda will be on top of this. Screw y'all. I'm going to be the king.
Well, for me, I think one of the brilliant things that Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, what those guys introduced is the villains that are not, that you understand. Is that the Professor X Magneto relationship, or even, Reed Richards and Doctor Doom or whoever, those relationships where there's a pairing where you go, I understand why this person is doing what they're doing. I'm kind of with them, even when they're doing things that are villainous. That's the stuff I love.
It's funny because you look at Thanos in the comics and his whole reason for getting the Infinity Gauntlet and wiping out half the existence is because he's just in love with Lady Death. Is like very funny that like they did such a good job in the films being like, nah, it's more because like, we done used up all the universe's resources. So if I cut this in half, that should help with that.
That's why those Thanos was right. Just like there was Killmonger was right. There was Thanos. Because I mean, you look at the ideology in which they're thinking and you're like, I get what you're saying, but the way you want to go about it is wrong.
Well, right. So that was the other thing that was interesting though, like you said about Stan and Kirby, is that even Thanos, I'm going to do this for Lady Death. How many of us have done the dumbest shit in the world for a girl or for a loved one? Where we're like, I'll go above and beyond right now to show my love. So like, there's, even though that seems like a little more far-fetched than I feel like our population's booming too much. Even that feels a little relatable of like, I'll do anything for the one I love. You know what I mean? So,
well, the one that's so terrible is I'm bad and therefore I will do things that are bad. That's the one where I'm out,
Yeah.
Was never a big fan of Yellow Jacket for that reason. It felt very like, I just want money and I'm evil.
I just want to be better than Hank Pym.
Let's get into a fight scene.
Let the challenge begin.
This fight literally gets me emotional for several reasons. So many people don't know M'Baku's stunt double, Winston Duke's stunt double, Winston A. Duke. Lord have mercy, I've been around Winston A. Marshall too long. Winston Duke's stunt double is my late friend, pro wrestler Shad Gaspard. So a lot of people didn't know he was the stunt double for Winston Duke. So that fight is a lot of Shad, and it's mixed. It's both. Like they filmed it where Chadwick was actually doing the fights himself, and yes, of course, he had a stunt double because Marvel is like, hey, bruh. We can't risk you getting really hurt. Like, you're the star of this movie. But you have these men who want to put on this, and the way Rachel Morrison shoots it is the most beautiful thing ever, from the angles in which she captures everything.
And one of the things is, how do you show power? And M'Baku's power is so tangible. Man, when he hits him, it's like, oh my God. Yeah. And you're afraid. I mean, of course, we know we're watching Black Panther. We know that this is not actually the main bad guy. We know who the main bad guy is going to be. We know he's going to win, but you're still afraid.
Yeah.
When he has T'Challa caressed.
Oh yeah.
And headbutting him with the mask on. That's how you show power.
No powers. No claws. No special suitor, just a boy, not fit to lead.
Well, that's the moment, is that there's this upside down shot of him looking back at his family. And one of the things that Ryan Coogler says is that's where T'Challa gets his strength. His strength comes from his family. Strength comes from his connection to Wakanda, to his family, to his father, to tradition. That's where the strength comes from. And that's what he digs into right now.
I am Prince T'Challa, son of King T'Chaka.
Because again, he doesn't know about the misdeeds in which his father has done at the time. In his eyes, still, his father was the perfect king.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, like you said, drawing that power.
Well, and again, contrast that with Killmonger, who has no family.
Right.
Yeah.
All the themes are here. And T'Challa comes back, and he has M'Baku, and he gives him the moment to yield.
You have fought with honor. Now yield. Your people need you.
And I love the long pause and then the tap. You know, tap, the universal sign of stop.
I love the fact that when he's dragging him closer and closer to the waterfall, all of the village, the different villages, T'Challa, T'Challa, like it just, that same way that if you were watching a boxing match, like, or if you were watching a football game, you would start cheering for the, like, it adds that extra element to it. It gives it that, it gives homage again, because they're chanting in rhythm to obviously the score, but it also kind of gives us something to tap into if we're not necessarily familiar with all of that, to be like, yeah, you would cheer for the guy you want to.
There's one thing we also missed in this fight scene that's very important. Right before T'Challa and M'Baku battle, the Jabari and the Dora Milaje make a circle around them.
Oh, that's right.
Faced off at one another. Right. And as the fight progresses, you notice they all further collapse in and collapse in. Mm-hmm. Like, this is like, we're making sure no one else gets involved at all, but also not you and not you. Mm-hmm. You know, again, these are the Jabari, are the only men that aren't, they're like, yo, we gonna go toe to toe with them, which they really have no clue what's about to happen to them if it really went down. But you see that.
Yeah.
Well, they prove later on in the movie that Jabari are probably, the Jabari tribe is probably on a toe to toe level with
especially the women. I mean, especially the women. You remember that one woman you see from the Jabari?
Yeah, bro.
Well, when we get there, I have an interesting story about that. But the one other thing about those spears coming in is it also makes the fighting space smaller.
Yeah.
You know? So you're in this compressed situation. Yeah. It's a great battle. And one other thing, by the way, I mean, they're fighting in water is hard, but they did the bottom of the pool of water is all padded. So you go through the soft water into padded ground, and that's what allows them to do some of those big hits and flips.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We go to the city, what's called the City of the Dead. And we're going to have the herb, the purple herb that gives him the heart herb, I think it's called.
Heart-shaped herb.
Allow the heart-shaped herb to restore the powers of the Black Panther and take you to the ancestral plane.
And you see the purple kind of go through his skin. And there's this moment of flashback where it flashes back to his father touching his face when he was a kid. Yeah. And then we go immediately to right before his father's death at the UN from Civil War. And then they start to bury him.
Yeah.
And there's kids there, little kids helping. There's people that are T'Challa's age, and there's old people. And what Ryan Coogler said was that this was really important to him because he wanted to show the generational familial connection. Mm-hmm. Through tradition, and that this is a moment of life, death, and birth. And so he wanted all those ages there. Again, man, this is a deep movie. Like, with so much, this is why I kept going like, fuck, Ryan Coogler he's got a lot going on.
Because even when you get to the ancestral plane, after he's officially buried, you know, a lot of people took the symbolism, compared it to the Lion King. Because the look, and also, the colors, the regality of the purple, because purple is a regal color. And so that's the main color you see under this tree where there are Black Panthers. And then the one panther forms and becomes T'Chaka, which lets you know that the essence of every king prior is there as a panther.
Well, and purple is the color of the heart-shaped herb. It's the color of Zuri's clothes because that's where the spiritual will come along. And I just watch Chadwick's performance as he takes this in. You know, that this is, he truly, because there's no sense that this is a false dream. You know what I mean? No, this is your father, and this is his father and his father's father, and his whole history is right here.
I'm actually kind of curious about how this all played out. Just on the history level, the plot line of, obviously T'Challa was already the Panther when they were in Civil War when T'Chaka gets killed, because within 2 seconds of his dad getting killed, he's chasing down Bucky. So I'm curious. Like, he visited the plane before his father was alive. I'm curious who he saw the first.
No, I don't think he. I don't think he. Now here's an assumption I have. I don't think he visited the plane.
Okay.
I think because, again, the mantle of Black Panther is one thing, because the father can't be the warrior, the protector of Wakanda anymore. That's one thing. You only go to the ancestral plane. I mean, you get the heart-shaped herb. You'll get the ability. But I don't think he went to the plane itself.
But that's the whole thing. In order to take the herb, which they've made it very
you're
clear,
right.
every
You know
time
what?
you
You're
take
right.
the herb,
You're
you
right.
go.
You're fair.
So I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
right.
Did he see his grandfather? Did he just see other kings? Like, I know that sounds weird, and it's not direct to this movie, but it is something that I thought
because his father isn't dead at the time when he first gets it.
Because his father wasn't dead the first time he took it.
You know what's funny? Everything you say, Winston, makes perfect sense, but I always thought of it the way Jay did. That he had the superpowers, but the spiritual plane is when you become king.
Right,
But
that's the ritualistic part.
Yeah.
I mean, I get you. I'm with Winston 100% on what he's saying.
Yeah.
But it's like, again, also the suit is a practical suit at the time, too, when we go in Civil War. And at the beginning of this movie, this is the practical, oh, let me put on my helmet. You remember what Shuri said? It's the practical suit.
Yeah.
It's not the think about it, it comes on the nanotext.
Right.
So, you know, that time from which we see in Civil War with the suit, we have to have that suspension of disbelief. Like, how quick do you say, let me take off the suit, let me put this on real quick?
No. I understand all of that. I get that. It was just something that I thought about because, again, he clearly already had the heart-shaped herb flowing through him because he had to have the power stripped from him in the fight with Jabari. Right. So it definitely happened. And it's just, I guess, that's the whole thing from the comic lore, but even what they did here in the movie, the ancestral plane is definitely a part of when you take the herb. It more or less is a hallucination. I mean, you are on that plane, but, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you go out.
But the thing is, it seems like it is more, the ancestral plane visit is more of the ritualistic coronation part.
But they have said
I get
the herb itself knocks you out. So regardless of whether they bury you underground, you get knocked out while it's changing your DNA more or less, or however.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
So I'm not knocking.
No, not your mind.
I could also agree that maybe it is you become king, then you whatever. But I'm curious, what did he see then? Regardless, you know what I'm saying? Because the other thing that you can make the argument with, Killmonger does become the king, but technically with T'Challa not dead, he's not officially the king, which we find out later on anyway too. But yet he still has that hallucination, or that visit to the ancestral plane. So that's why I'm just curious.
So I have two thoughts about this. One thought is we don't know what other stuff Zuri did with the red sand, and it might be that if you take the heart-shaped herb, home, but you don't go through the whole ritual, you don't go to the ancestral plane. The other thing is that Civil War happened before they had a script for Black Panther.
This is true.
So,
that's true.
So
that's true.
They needed Black Panther to be the superhero, and so
And we forget one major thing too. All of Wakanda, all the land, all the trees, the foliage, everything grows off vibranium. So that can affect the sand in itself. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but the only thing I would say is it doesn't have anything to do with the sand, because remember later on in the film, T'Challa gets buried in the snow. Right. When he's when he takes the herb, he does get buried in the snow with the Jabari. So it is. I think the burial process. I think that ritual is part of it, but I don't necessarily know if it's the soil that's doing it.
And really, this is a full geek conversation. There is no end to. Back into this scene, one of the things I love is that T'Challa says, "I'm not ready," and T'Chaka's response is, "But you've been preparing your whole life to be king." And he says, "No, I'm not ready to be without you."
Yeah,
Oof. That's
the one that got me, man.
Yeah,
when he said that, because I mean, when you lose your father, having that experience of having lost your father, when movies get it right, it's a really difficult thing to watch and emotionally remember again. You know, and
as someone who lost their father and mother, I definitely, it definitely, I'm not ready to be with that. I lost my father when I was 5. I lost my mother when I was 27. Right. And so, I know that moment of I'm not ready to be without you, even though I'm going to run the country. I'm cool with being the king. I'm fine with doing this. I just don't want to do this without you here.
Right.
Well, and it's so tragic because T'Challa doesn't know yet, Like, in his mind, in this moment, his father's just a great man.
A man who has not prepared his children for his own death has failed as a father. Have I ever failed you? Never. Tell me how to best protect Wakanda. I want to be a great king, Baba. Just like you.
And his father says being a king is difficult for a good man.
It's difficult for a good man to be a great king.
To be a great king. So it's a little foreshadowing of what we're going to find out later on in the movie, yeah.
That is one of the things that I appreciate so much about this film, is it really is on top of that, the whole concept of the sins of our fathers. Yeah. Because think about it, Killmonger has taken on the war of his dad. It's not only a revenge for his father, but he's taken on the war of his dad. And so has T'Challa. T'Challa has to bear the sins of his dad murdering his brother, leaving his cousin out there in the cold, let alone this idea of isolation that T'Chaka and all the kings before him have put into place. But if you think about it, it's not even necessarily a bad thing. What word is thrown around all the time by Shuri and many other people throughout Wakanda is colonizing.
Yeah.
They did it because they watched what happened the last time the outside world came to Africa and stripped the continent of all of its resources and its culture and its people. So I don't blame T'Chaka and the previous kings for being like, nah, we good. Like, lock it down. Like, ain't nobody else coming in the house. Party's over.
But this is the essence, the conflict of the film. It's like, because in doing so, they allowed the colonizers to come do what they did. And then they didn't redress any of those things with all of their family, essentially, that is all over the world in the, in the diaspora. And it's interesting. So what Ryan Coogler said about T'Challa, one thing he said that I thought was really interesting, by the way, is that he said he knew Killmonger right away. Because that's him. He came from Oakland. He understands that guy. It took him going to Africa to understand T'Challa. It was a process of him understanding him. And one of the things he said is that his identity, which is all connected to his family and all connected to a tradition, that is his flaw. That is what he must overcome and actually become his own person in order to become a great king.
And that's weird because that's not weird, but that's one of the things you see. That's a common theme throughout the Marvel cinematic movies with anyone who's the hero following in a legacy.
Yeah.
Remember, Captain America is a soldier no matter what. He's not mentally he's a leader now, but he's still a soldier.
Right.
Thor is supposed to be the king.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? You have people like that.
Yeah.
I feel like what they all are. That's what's so interesting is they're all kings in their own right. Like, I mean, Tony is the king of a tech empire given to him by his
father. Yep.
Like, Captain America became essentially the king of America. Not really, like, he's not ruling, but that symbol of what he stands for. Thor obviously is supposed to take on the throne, like you said, from his dad when it's time for his dad to pass. So it's so interesting to see these various degrees of these characters having to take on the mantles of their forefathers, but maybe they don't want to, or maybe they're not ready, or whatever else. And then this particular iteration is just so beautiful because you don't necessarily see the bad stuff that Howard Stark does. You sort of Odin does by kidnapping Loki and whatnot. Like, that was kind of that, but like now you're getting to see this in T'Chaka, which is.
But to Jay's point, which I think is a great point, and I'd never thought of it quite that way, is that what does Tony Stark have to do? He has to stop being the weapons distributor like his father was.
Right.
Yep. He has to escape that. Yep. Is Thor going to end up as the king of Asgard? No.
Yeah.
Like all these people are actually escaping their destiny in one way or another.
Yep.
The one other thought I had here, just thinking about this, was because I was thinking a lot about Jackie Robinson, Thurgood Marshall, and then I was thinking about, the great heroes of African American history. All of them, you know, whether it's Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or Jack Johnson or Muhammad Ali, whoever you want to name, they all are in opposition to something else. Like, their struggle is always against the colonizers. T'Challa is a power on his own.
Mm-hmm.
He is not in opposition to something. He is the king. That is just so different, you know.
Well, actually, he is in opposition to change. He himself is in opposition to change.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing. Nakia is constantly trying to drill into him. We can help the outside world. And not even, because it's not that we can help them and we would suffer. We can help them and nothing would change for us.
And that's the, once again, this is the definitely brilliant thing that Ryan does in this with that storyline, right? If it's Killmonger saying it from the beginning, then we attach the idea of helping everyone around the world in a negative point of view. But the fact that she says it before Killmonger does, it opens your mind a little bit more to the possibility. So that when Killmonger comes along, you see that the way he wants to use it is for evil, but the way she wants to do it is for good. So he has two people working on his mind, showing him the path that of extending out and helping other people, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. You know, Killmonger wants
Ryan hit us with that inception, man. He hit us with that inception. You got to plant the seed and then watch it germinate.
Mm-hmm.
That's
smart
how
filmmakers do.
That the
But also,
just what I was going to say.
Also, he did germinate with a whole bunch of sonic cannons. I mean, when you think about it realistically, like Killmonger was like, he was all about this from jump, but then realized like, yo, you got a sonic cannon that's undetectable in the palm of your hand. Yeah, we gonna liberate some folks. Like,
breathe, T'Challa, breathe. He was there. He was there.
And then it's later, and we're in the city of Wakanda. And this was important to Ryan Coogler, too, that you see the life of the city. That you see kids and food and stores and all of that stuff, that this is a real place.
Yeah.
One important thing, everybody has the Kamoya beads because they make it seem like the Kamoya beads are specific to like those higher up in the royal family and those connected. Until if you pay attention to, like, again, it's those little small things. Everybody has some level of technology, first and foremost, and has those Kamoya beads.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed that.
No, that's their cell phone. That's their iPhone right there, because that thing does everything. Bring up zoom on your wrist and yo, we need a layout of we're trying to like, you know what
hey
I'm
man,
saying?
anybody got Postmates on this?
Hey bro, I'm hungry. Can you send for some oxtail real quick? Go ahead and hit them up on
God, I hope Zuckerberg never develops Facebook for that thing, because that would and he's with Nakia, and he says to her, stay.
Like, yo, you always gone. Just baby, stay with me. I'm a king now.
I came to support you and to honor your father, but I can't stay. I've seen too many in need just to turn a blind eye.
I can't be happy here knowing that there's people out there who have nothing.
What'd you say, Winston? You set it up and they let it germinate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that's what this is doing.
It's so funny because I literally, my next note is what you just said, which is, it's just like what Killmonger is saying in a different way.
What would you have Wakanda do about it?
Share what we have. We could provide aid and access to technology and refuge to those who need it. Other countries do it. We could do it better.
And I think the way you even do it too, and this is what T'Challa has to get to. Nobody said you got to turn around and give away massive stores of vibranium or give away weapons. You could literally, like you said, aid. Like later on, you're gonna watch Agent Ross get shot in the spine. We're like, oh, he's dead or crippled. That's it. Like his life is done. And Shuri's like, nah, Wakanda, son. Like, just like, well, all of a sudden he's
also because T'Challa. The reason being this scene with Nakia saying what we can do and give aid and technology and whatnot. T'Challa's brain doesn't look at just aid as in medical relief and building hospitals. It's what happened with vibranium again. Taking vibranium, making weapons. That's the thought process. He thinks of the worst, what happens, not the best.
Well, and, I mean, we've been talking a lot about Africa, but this is the United States, the richest country on earth, who is constantly going through what can we do in the world. And there are times where we do the Marshall Plan. And there are times where we say America first. You know, I'm not going to mention which time I think we're in right now, but but it is definitely a tension.
If you are not so stubborn, you would make a great queen.
I would make a great queen because I am so stubborn.
If that's what I wanted.
And my man was like, She was like, if I wanted to, first of all, you're not going to destroy his son. Because T'Challa really, because you see him, again, this is the range, the level of the character that Chadwick Boseman brings. He is that, you said you'd be a great queen. Look, you're thinking about it. You know, so you know how guys we are when we're in a relationship. See, you're thinking about it.
So you're telling me there's
right,
exactly.
right. You're saying there's hope, right?
Well, it's the small goofiness of his character that makes him lovable. You know, like it's such a key little piece of him. We go off to this ranch and we're feeding a rhino.
Glory to Basti is getting big. It's a rhino. First of all, can we not? Why are we expect? Oh, look at the little baby rhino. No, he's getting big. It's a rhino.
So you want to know what it actually is? It's a Clydesdale. Yeah. They had because they needed to find an animal that had a similar gait to a rhino. So they have a big ass Clydesdale to stand in for the rhino there.
In a green tarp.
Probably.
That also makes sense. I don't know many people that have trained rhinos just chilling down the palm of your hand.
Hey, bro, you want to see? I want to see a cute little rhino just eating the apple. Like, look at cute little dangerous rhino just eating this young apple.
And what's interesting is that they talk about Nakia, but then they get into the same question: is that she thinks that we should do foreign aid and deal with refugees, and he represents a different political stance.
Nakia thinks we should be doing more.
More like what?
Foreign aid, refugee programs.
You let the refugees in, they bring their problems with them. And then Wakanda is like everywhere else. Now, if you said you wanted me and my men to go out there and clean up the world, then I'd be all for it.
That which, like you said, and that's something I don't necessarily, like, I keep missing that because soon after Okoye calls and, you know, the whole my love, and you're like, so I paid attention to the relationship. I completely missed that. He has already made it clear that the minute Killmonger shows up, he's going to be on.
Yeah, he about ready. Oh, you want to wreck shop? Yo, as soon as you say, let's go.
Yeah. Right. Well, and it's interesting, too, because you get the sense that he's got a long relationship with T'Challa and that they are friends.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But his political stance, man, he flips pretty quick.
I wouldn't say he flips. It's sort of like what we will see later when it comes to Okoye, when Nakia wants her and the Dora Milaje to help, when she says, I am loyal to that throne no matter who sits upon it.
We're going to get to it, but this is what I really like about it, is that their stances are similar but different. Because when T'Challa shows back up and is alive, Okoye goes, oh, the thing that made me say I'm loyal to that throne, that's now in flux. Mm-hmm. But Wakabi goes, no, I still believe in this Killmonger guy. You know, and that's what makes this interesting. You know, let's go have a meeting.
Right before we get to that, the only thing I just love is that moment with the beads. Just it's like my king, my love, like that that pulled at my heartstrings a little bit. I know that sounds
because it was like again, Okoye is this tough general, and it's just my love.
Absolutely, and something that we're going to pay off later.
A misidentified Wakandan artifact was stolen yesterday from a British museum. We have learned Ulysses Claw plans to sell the vibranium to an American buyer in South Korea tomorrow night.
And that, again, we see all the different tribes, and they all have slightly different agendas.
Wakanda does not need a warrior right now. We need a king.
My parents were killed when he attacked. Not a day goes by when I do not think about what Claw took from us. From me.
It's too great an opportunity to pass.
This was the design. It is a 4th century Mali pyramid is the base. And then it's like a glass floor looking down at the ruins. So you have this mix, which is something they did constantly, of technology and tradition. You know, is that traditional things are mixed with technology. And one of the things Coogler said is he said, if you're in the British Museum, all the past is behind glass. And here the past is tactile, it's touch. We're there. We're a part of it. We would never put anything separate from us. Which, I was like, man, it's brilliant. And now we find out that Wakabi and the border tribe, that it was his people that were killed by Claw in this raid 30 years ago.
That we hear about in Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Because that's the raid where he has all the vibranium and Ultron wants to get it. And then, you know, you first hear Banner say Wakanda, like that's how he says it, and that's when you find out about. So all these things, he's been hoarding all this 2 tons of vibranium, trying to find somebody to buy it for decades.
And what's so interesting is Wakabi says, okay, I'm going to go get Claw in Korea, and Wakabi says,
then I ask, do you kill him where he stands, or you bring him back to us?
And T'Challa's response is,
you have my word. I will bring him back.
I also love the fact that everybody is so bound to avenge or protect their family. So Wakabi's out here trying to, like, T'Challa went and tried to get that revenge for T'Chaka. Killmonger's on this war path to avenge his dad. Like, there's this strong passion to defend and protect and avenge the no pun intended, their fathers. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing. Like that fiery. I mean, Tony struggles with it in Civil War. Like I'll give a Captain America. I'll murder you. I gotta kill the dude that killed my parents.
Well, and T'Challa's gonna have the opposite thing because his father is the person that is responsible.
Yep.
He's got to face that. Let's go see Shuri in her lab. I love that the first thing she does is bow. It says "My King."
Cut it out.
Well, I love one of the things, again, production design.
Oh yeah,
because this, again, it brings technology and it gives you this hip hop urban flair at the same time, while also blending in African motif and culturalism. You get so much in one, just in Shuri's lab. Going to Shuri's lab, not even when you're in the lab.
Yeah, and this scene is really fun. By the way, Hannah Bleacher, who's the production designer, she took a lot of Kirby. Mixed it with lots of African design, lots of modern. I mean, there's a lot of thought that went into all this stuff. And what's one of the and the funny thing too is this is Q. You know, it's Shuri is the Q for Black Panther. And we go over some of the technology, and we see her interact with that sand table that are so cool. And then he asks the questions, "What are these?" And she says,
"The real question is, what are those?"
What are those?
What are those? And I wish that's the only problem. Like, I wish the movie would have
sandals.
I wish the movie would have came out so much earlier.
Old school for that. I bet they loved it.
Again, traditional versus change.
Yeah.
Which Jay, I'm sure you recognize too. That's that uncle. That's the uncle at the cookout sandals right there. That's 1,000%. If you're wearing some of those, you about to make some damn good ribs. I'll tell you right now.
I wish that like the movie would have came out a little bit earlier, so everybody would have understood the "what are those" reference. Because by the time it came, most did, but it has started to fade slowly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But bro, I'm telling you, the minute I saw that, I was like, "Oh, damn, T'Challa be making some damn."
I'll be like, "Yo, he be at the barbecue." And they said those are Alexander McQueen sandals, though he had on.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Those were Alexander. So like we talking about him, but the man's sandals probably cost like 30 racks.
I mean, he got it in spades, bro.
I mean, he holding big joker, little joker, ace, king, queen.
Dude, he had all 13 books. He has all 13.
We get our little sneakers joke. We go over to these necklaces, which are actually the whole Black Panther suit. And then she says,
"Strike it."
Anyway.
I love the fact you see T'Challa sizing up the suit on the dummy. He's like, all right, so you want me to go on it, and then just like, bah!
What? Not so hard. You break everything in my life.
And then it's kind of glowing purple. She says it absorbs kinetic energy and says, "Strike it again." And she
didn't even tell him at first. She didn't tell him it absorbed kinetic energy.
Oh yeah, I thought she did first.
She does.
No, she does.
She does say it first.
She does. She does, because the last thing in the scene is delete that footage.
Yeah. She tells him after he kicks it again.
No, not at all. It's literally right.
Oh yeah, you're right. Because he
goes, "Hey, what is this?"
You're right.
He goes, "What is this?" And he goes, "It absorbs the kinetic energy." Kick it in the same spot, and then.
But wait, she goes so cool with it. She be like, "Hold on for a second, please."
That's what
Whenever you're ready, now you can go and do this.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
Delete that footage.
we head off to Busan, and we're in like the fish market, and we talk to this Korean woman, and of course Nakia speaks perfect Korean, you know, and she's basically the gatekeeper to go into this casino, and she kind of talks her way through, and we go from the fish market into this green room. Nakia, of course, dressed in green, Okoye dressed in red with a wig, which becomes important. T'Challa dressed in black, and they're walking with T'Challa in the middle. And this is, which I never thought of, but then listening to Ryan Coogler, green, red, black. That's the Pan-African flag.
Yep.
I mean, that's just so. And I don't know what the process was. Like when you come up with ideas, you don't necessarily know what order they came up with. But the moment that they figured that out, that's just really, really cool.
I think it might be because this might have been a moment where you have Ryan Coogler here, where every single moment in this movie needs to have some symbolism of something, right? And this could have been a shot that just didn't have anything that really stood out at the moment.
Oh, I have a brilliant moment of that later on in this scene in the casino. That is considered one of the funniest moments, but also the symbolism is insane.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
know what you're talking about too. I think I'm with you too. Yeah. So we go into this casino, and this is, it's a little James Bondy. They have, they can hear what they're each saying. They spot Agent Ross in the casino and realize that, he's got to be the buyer from Claw.
What I'm doing or not doing on behalf of the U.S. government is none of your concern. Now, whatever the hell you're up to, do me a favor, stay out of my way. Claw is leaving out that door with me.
And then we get our Stanley moment.
I think I'll just hold on to these. That's fine.
Now we have a whole bunch of SUVs pull up, and out comes Claw.
Then you got Nakia at one point, and then you got Okoye on another. They're all doing reconnaissance because now they're because against T'Challa's like, yo, Everett Ross is here with CIA, and then Ross even tells his people was like, so the king of Wakanda is here, y'all. like y'all need to really because he doesn't. Again, he even mentions in his little moment with T'Challa, I don't tell anybody about how the king of the Wakanda runs around in a cat suit. Like, I don't tell nobody. So, again, only people that's privy to the information knows he's the Black Panther. And he knows what the Black Panther can do. So he God damn it, y'all got to watch out.
Well, and they start looking around, and it's like, there's 2 people coming in. No, it's 3. No, 6. There's a lot of people coming in. And then this moment where Ross says,
well, that is quite the entourage. You got a mixtape coming out?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Actually, there is one. Yeah, I'll send you the SoundCloud link if you like.
Yeah, get him the SoundCloud link. I love that. That was the part about Andy Serkis that I was like, you clearly know he's having fun. When he's out for his SoundCloud link, how in a minute he's going to be like, that was all. I made him. When he goes, he genuinely, when he saw this, like what they wanted to do, he really did get excited.
He's having so much fun with this part, and even like the putting the hand on Ross's shoulder and kind of rubbing his shoulder until he goes, oh, that's enough, and pulling the vibranium out of his pants. He's having a ball.
When he goes, I made it rain. I made it rain.
Yeah.
But then someone notices Okoye. She expands that spear and takes him out. And then it's throwing the wig in the face.
Okay.
I knew that's what it was.
I knew what it was.
That was what I was talking about. There's a lot of symbolism here. First of all, I think the biggest one to be pointed out is the fact that, especially here in America, but in Western civilization in general, Black women have been made to live by essentially white beauty standards, which means all the chemicals that are being put in, all the straightening, everything else is one of those things that is just, not only have billions of dollars been taken from Black women on that accord, the amount of pain and struggle and whatnot. And in the last probably decade, this idea of the big chop and wearing your hair natural has kind of come into that fold. So not only do we get Okoye complaining about the wig throughout the espionage part of this scene, to actually see her take it off and be like, no, I'm way more effective when I'm just myself. That and I remember watching some commentary where Ryan said that, but one, she found a way to make her hair a weapon. That's just badass in and of itself. 2, to have that staunch, just man, fuck this, I'm doing me, is so beautiful, and it is that same, again, talk about another symbolism. I have seen so many Black women feel so freed to know I don't have to go to the beauty salon every like couple weeks and drop a couple hundred like on my hair. Right. And not be able to swim and not be able to fight and not be able to do all the things that I want to do because I'm worried about my hair. Like, it was so amazing. And there were so many great music videos of people like talking about, ladies, take your wigs off, like all sorts of throwing stuff that it just, that moment, I remember every single Black woman in the first time I saw it go, yes, like with the hair.
And I'll add one more thing to that, which is that her symbol of rank is tattooed on her head.
Yep.
So taking the wig off, the wig is obscuring the most important part of her identity. So taking that off, she gets to become who she is. And this action sequence is great.
Can we answer one question too? How dope are vibranium weapons that long ass spear came out of nowhere? Yeah. Like, she just pulled it out, was like, I'm like, okay, so.
Dude, Shuri needs a raise. I don't know what they're paying her, but she needs a raise.
Well, I've heard this a couple times now. I think Feige said it, but that Shuri is in fact the smartest person in the Marvel Universe.
Yep. They because they proved that point when they get to Wakanda in
to take out the stone out of Vision's head.
To take out the stone out of Vision's head. No, like we were like, yeah, it's like, well, why didn't you just do this, this, and this, and this? And then they were like, well, because we didn't think.
And wait, Vision, and the fact that Vision even looked at him like, yeah, why y'all ain't think about this? Like,
well, and Shuri's like 17.
Yep.
Which is what's wild.
Tony Stark's 50 something.
Can you imagine the Iron Man suit that Shuri creates? Oh my God, let her reverse engineer all of Tony's stuff and then make it 20 times better.
Oh, this is what it does? Oh, this is so outdated. I'm 3 generations ahead of this. Like, Friday is like, what is she doing, boss? Boss, what's she doing?
So this action sequence, they were practicing in the space when they were building the set. So they have, construction crews building all around them. And then they have big cardboard boxes standing in for like the crap stables and stuff so they can crash through them. And I just imagine the chaos of trying to do fight choreography when people are building all around you. The fight scene is great. In particular, there's one beautiful Kotegashi throw, which is, I do Aikido, and it was like, oh, that was really good. But also there's a shot that's a oneer where we go up to the balcony with stuff with Okoye, and then there's a huge stunt, which is done for real, coming off the balcony. We fly down. I mean, it's a really, really cool
also,
fight scene.
I don't know if you guys heard. So again, it's a part of the score, but when you hear the chop 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 chop, that's a woman warrior call. That's it. That's a female warrior cry, and so that's why it's significantly played during that moment when she is going off.
And it mainly happens whenever it is
the Dora Milaje. Yep.
So even when they're fighting Killmonger near the end, it plays then too.
So Claw's arm open up, and we have this huge, huge blast.
Well, that's right before T'Challa calls him out and says murderer. Doesn't even call him Claw, just says murderer.
And then in a reply, like, you look just like your daddy.
Just like your old man.
And that's when T'Challa, again, this man got the strength of the Black Panther when he picks up a vault. He picks up a vault on wheels and throws it to block the blast.
I made the train.
And we end up outside in this super cool car chase.
Oh, that was awesome! That was awesome!
That was awesome!
That was awesome!
That was awesome!
And we have two pairs because we have Nakia and Okoye in one car, which again is the more traditional person paired with the person who believes in change. And then we have Shuri, who ends up remotely controlling a car, which is just cool technology. So, and I love how they set it up, is that she is essentially in the car, even though she is not in the car.
Also, the voice. Do you know the voice of the automated system was for her? Trevor Noah.
Remote driving system activated.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Feige wanted this to be A, an amazing car chase, and B, he wanted to introduce the new suit and everything the new suit could do. The stunt driver, the coordinator of the stunt driving, same guy who did Baby Driver, did Drive, and does all the cars for John Wick.
Oh, okay.
So
that
you kind of go, yeah.
That makes sense.
I love just the pose of Black Panther on top of that car is so cool. Like, they find a way to make him move. And this is just something I'm so fascinated, is that he doesn't move like Spider-Man. He doesn't move like Captain America. He moves like Black Panther, He has his own particular style that I just love.
Shuri also murders someone.
Oh yeah.
Wait, when does she?
Shuri drives over somebody.
Yeah.
Remember?
It says, "What was that?" And he goes, "Just keep driving.
Just keep driving. You're doing fine."
Oh yeah.
Just keep driving. You're doing fine.
But it was one of the bad guys, though. If I
It
remember,
doesn't matter. Shuri murders somebody.
I mean, bro, the MCU has a murder problem.
Yes, it does.
Villains get murdered on a 20.
Not even just main villains. Like henchmen die a lot.
Well, all the time.
Well, just people that are in buildings and like, violence.
That's why the Sokovia Accords had to come along, because y'all just out here murdering everybody.
I mean, you think you're doing okay. You think in your heart you're doing right, but you're killing everyone.
I love the moment where they're driving and Shuri's like, "We can't make it," and he jumps off the car, pulls it up onto two wheels. Super cool.
When he rips, when he takes his claw and rips the wheel out of Claw's vehicle, and then even the part when he runs up the wall after the car,
I was like, bro, the time where they've been shooting him, so he's been collecting all that kinetic energy, does the whole jump and lets the kinetic energy explode him back onto the car.
I was like,
fam.
Well, this is what's so impressive to me is like, we talked about this, John, like way back talking about The Matrix, whereas that you have a movie that is so cool in terms of action, but is also about something, and this is the same thing where it's like, having it have deep themes doesn't mean you can't have a badass action sequence.
Right.
And this one is fantastic. And Claw and his bad guys open fire on the vibranium car. And Claw's like, you can't get through that. And what does Okoye do inside her bulletproof car? She gets out.
Yeah.
But wait, she got metal like sticky shoes. She got good shoes.
She got sneakers.
She got her sneakers. But wait, she sticks her spear through the thing to hold the balance, and the kid like, hey, what did you do?
Well, and what's so funny about it is like we've been watching Black Panther on top of a car for a few minutes. And so why is this other person just getting on a car dramatic? Part of it is the way she gets out of the car is slow. It all happens slow. And then her pose is so badass on top. I mean, it is so cool what she does.
Dude, throwing the spear so perfectly, it destroys through the middle of one of those SUVs and still scoops up her spear. And then the fact that when they do catch up to Claw and Claw blows the car up, that she's such a warrior in midair, catches her own spear, stabs it down to prevent herself from getting hurt. The same way that you would see a Captain America use his shield to shield an impact. She knows how vibranium works so well. She calculates in time to land it on the ground. And obviously the comic relief moment of that is Nakia rolling up with just the wheel just sliding into the air.
Dude, with the look she has, Okoye has on her face when she's like, if I don't catch this, like, because it isn't one of those, because, it isn't one of those moments where it's like, oh, I'm guaranteed to catch this. It's one of those, I might miss this. And I have to show the seriousness in this scene without saying anything. It's just my actions have to show it.
And then the next thing, there's a huge explosion, and there's this moment where Black Panther runs up the wall in the midst of this explosion. You want to know where Ryan Coogler's inspiration for that moment is?
What?
Bo Jackson.
Wow.
Really?
The Kansas City moment.
When he runs up the wall
and caught the ball. Damn, that's brilliant.
Isn't that awesome?
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
Wow.
Dude. And then we have another moment where everyone fires at him, the suit absorbs it, and then he goes and rips off Claw's arms and asks, where did you get this weapon?
Look at me, Madara. Where did you get this weapon?
You savages didn't deserve it.
Coogler says that he has never seen an actor put so much into things as Andy Serkis.
I mean, yeah.
Like the body sacrifice, the complete, total commitment to everything.
Well, because we're so used to seeing what he does in mocap.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing. Like, he's done it so much. We don't see it. This is the first time I think we've really seen it physically.
Yeah.
Because we're used to seeing it all in mocap. And when we watch these characters, and you're like, when you look at Gollum, you're like, what?
Yeah.
How he moves and everything. When you're watching him as Caesar, you're looking at the movements that he's making and everything. And again, we don't give him his flowers for that.
Yeah.
But now we see the actual physicality he put into this role.
Yeah.
You compare him to a number of the on-camera, like look at him in 13 Going on 30, where he's playing like the boss of a magazine and he's way more like flowing with his movements. And then you look at the ferocity and joy he has playing Ulysses Claw and how his forearms are even thick as hell and just the cut of his beard, everything, so that when any moment that he's on screen, there's just this electricity because he's so committed to what he's doing and he's physically
100%.
matched the point of what he's trying to do the whole time. And it's incredible to watch. Yeah.
You also have to give, like, it's one of those things you want to talk about good direction. Yeah. I give Ryan so much credit for giving him that freedom because he felt restrained a little bit in Age of Ultron because it was supposed to be such a little mini homage moment. You didn't get the same, like you got hints of it. That same kind of sarcasm was there, but he didn't get to be nearly as free as Ryan being like, bro, do your thing. Yeah. And then he just like really cut loose here.
And then to sit there and in that moment when after T'Challa approaches him, he's like, this is how you know Ulysses Claw is so smart. Yeah. He knows people are recording. Because that's when he just, because think about it, no other time would you ever hear Ulysses Claw go,
oh, mercy, King, mercy.
Right. Well, and this is the thing too, is that T'Challa's just been through this huge battle. He's amped up, the testosterone is flowing. And what did we leave things with Wakabi, who said, kill him where he stands. And he said, I will bring him home. And we have this, again, the tension between revenge, which he wants, and justice. And there's this moment where and this just occurred to me, what did his father do? Is kill someone in a moment of passion. And now I don't know that T'Challa wasn't about to kill Claw at this moment until Okoye says the world is watching.
Oh, yeah, because he was trying to, Ulysses Claw, he was about to die.
Yeah.
He was finna cut him up with those claws. Because the fact that if you pay another attention to, it's really a small thing to pay attention to. This is what Ryan Coogler and Rachel Morrison did. A lot of people don't. You get to see Chadwick Boseman's eyes in that moment. Because remember, the suit normally has the white when the suit's all the way filled up. You don't see the eyes. When he approaches Ulysses Claw, you see Chadwick Boseman's actual eyes.
Ulysses Claw.
It's I want you to look me in the eye as I do this. So it's a small little detail that has a lot of poignancy.
So listen, Cine-Files, we knew that the discussion of Black Panther was going to be big. And John and I planned for this to be a 2-part episode. But this conversation has been so great. I don't know. We might end up in 3, but I think this is a good point to end part 1 of our exploration of Black Panther in honor of the great Chadwick Boseman. And of course, we're raising money for the National Children's Cancer Society. Just go to thenccs.org/donate-Black Panther. And of course, we want to hear what you think of Black Panther. So visit us on our Facebook page, do a search for the Cine-Files. And you can subscribe to the show on iTunes or YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify. If you want to buy Black Panther or any other movie we've ever done, just go to Cine-Files.net and you can support the show on patreon.com/the Cine-Files. You can reach Cine-Files on Twitter at Cine_Files, the Cine-Files podcast on Instagram. You can reach me at SR Morris on Twitter, SR Morris1 on Instagram. John, where can they reach you?
You can always reach me at The Roca Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And come on over to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/John Roca Says.
And we want to thank our incredible guests, Winston A. Marshall and Mr. J. Washington. Thank you so much. This has been just the beginnings of an unbelievable conversation.
Thank you. This has been a blast. This again, I think I can speak for Winston and he'll add on. Well, this is one of those movies you get us talking about. We can continually talk about nonstop.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole thing. I have a whole other Black Panther conversation for you and something else, Jay. So trust and believe. Yes, this is something we can talk about for a long time. But thank you. It's been an honor to be here, and I'm excited to continue to have this conversation.
Well, and people wanted to reach you in the worlds of social media. How would they do that?
Yeah, you can find me. This is Winston speaking. I'm realizing this is a podcast. The Swaggy Blurred, TheSwaggyBlerd. That's all socials: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. I do stream stuff on Twitch, so all that kind of stuff. You can find me there.
This is Jay. I'm at Mr. J Washington, MRJAY. You should know how to spell Washington on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. Also, Winston and I collectively have a show we do every Tuesday and Thursday live called Blurs in the Hood. It's on our YouTube and Twitch channel. You can go to youtube.com/Blurs in the Hood, twitch.tv/Blurs in the Hood, and follow us.
By the way, blur in is not IN.
It's the letter N.
Blurs, the letter N.
The hood. Yes, and also we're on Twitter at Blurs in the Hood. So please follow us there.
That's great. And thank you both so much. And I think that is it for this week. We will see you next time as we continue our very deep exploration of Black Panther next time on the Cine-Files.